Howdy folks, once again it is Donnie, and unless you've been living under a rock for these past few weeks, you've probably seen the news that indeed hell has frozen over and the devil is shivering his buns off while waiting for his order of parkas to arrive. And of course I'm referring to the fact that not only does Microsoft now love Linux, but that Microsoft is now a platinum member of the Linux Foundation. Yes, not just any old member of the Linux Foundation, but a top-rated platinum member, which means that they are giving a lot of money to the Linux Foundation, and they are helping to develop Linux, and they are now going to have a lot of influence over the direction of Linux. And of course, this is only 15 years after Steve Ballmer, the previous CEO of Microsoft, likened Linux to a cancer. Basically, Steve Ballmer was saying that Linux was something that needed to be stamped out, needed to be obliterated from the face of this earth so that Microsoft and Windows would have all the business. So why are they doing this? Well, there's a lot of speculation about why they're doing it. Of course, Microsoft has won the desktop market. They won that a long time ago, not necessarily because it was the best desktop operating system out there, but a lot of it had to do with the fact that they had very, very aggressive marketing techniques, and then combine that with the fact that some of their competitors, they kind of botched their own marketing. But in the server world, Linux has made a lot more headway. So, like right now, most of the World Wide Web is run by Linux servers rather than Microsoft servers. And also, Linux servers are very, very big in the enterprise market. So, the speculation here is that Satya Nadella has finally kind of seen the light. He's seen that in those markets, Linux has won. So they're trying to get into the action, and a lot of people have been writing articles, even the ones who are traditionally have been totally anti-Microsoft. They've been writing articles basically justifying Microsoft's actions here and trying to explain it as something that's very benign, and that they're just trying to get a piece of the action, and which in itself would be fine, right? However, we also have techrights.org, and the person here who writes for techrights.org, Dr. Roy Shetzlowitz, claims that Microsoft, while at the same time they're saying that, yeah, they love Linux, they're still trying to do some rather unethical things in order to extract money from people who use Linux. And of course, the most famous part about that right now is that they're trying to enforce patents, which are of rather questionable quality. And basically, right now, the main reason or the main way in which they're going after these patent cases is for the Android phone users. So basically, right now, anybody who buys an Android phone, even though Microsoft had nothing at all to do with the development of Android because it's based on the Linux kernel, Microsoft claims that, hey, all these Android makers are violating our patents. So for that reason, every time you buy an Android phone, or every time that someone buys an Android phone, a piece of that purchase price is going to Microsoft. And of course, the Android manufacturers, they don't really want to contest this. They don't want to be tied up in court trying to sue Microsoft in order to get out of this, because all they do is they just tack on a little extra surcharge for every phone that they sell, and they'll raise the price of the phone by maybe $5 or $10 or whatever, and they'll just send that to Microsoft. So for them, it's a lot easier just to go ahead and accept the Microsoft bullion than to try to contest it. And more here about Microsoft and Ericsson trying to tax everything, especially Linux devices. And you can go ahead and read that article at your leisure. I'm not going to go through all of that. And then here, Jonathan Schwartz, who used to be the CEO of Sun Microsystems. He was the last CEO of Sun Microsystems before it got bought out by Oracle. But in this article, he tells the story about how one time Steve Jobs threatened to sue Sun Microsystems because supposedly Sun Microsystems was violating some patents that Apple held. And then Jonathan Schwartz continues by telling the story that he was just watching Steve Jobs' last presentation, and he noticed how the Keynote software that Apple developed looks a lot like the concurrence software that Jonathan Schwartz helped develop while he was at the Lighthouse Design Company, and which in turn had been acquired by Sun Microsystems. So basically, Sun Microsystems owned that intellectual property that Apple was using. So Jonathan Schwartz pointed this out to Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs basically said, okay, I guess I won't sue you. But then Steve Ballmer, Bill Gates, also paid Jonathan Schwartz a visit and tried to do the same thing, except this time it was with OpenOffice. OpenOffice at the time was a free open source Office suite, which was in competition with the Office suite that Microsoft was selling for actual money, right? So Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, or rather Steve Ballmer and Bill Gates, basically told Jonathan Schwartz that, hey, you're violating our Microsoft patents by producing this OpenOffice software. But it's okay. We will just graciously allow you to pay us a royalty for every copy of OpenOffice that gets downloaded, and then you'll be okay. Well, Jonathan Schwartz said, hey, wait a minute. We've looked at your .NET software, and it looks like you're trampling all over a huge number of our Java patents. So what will you pay us for every copy of Windows that you sell? Well, Bill Gates didn't really like that either, so he went away. He and Steve Ballmer went away and never bothered Sun Microsystems again. So patents, they're controversial, okay? They can be kind of valuable in a business, and both offensively and defensively as well. So sometimes you do need to go on the offense with these patents in order to protect yourself against these other patent lawsuits. And basically, that's what Sun Microsystems was doing. And here from Business Insider, this is from 2013, Microsoft is making an astonishing $2 billion a year from Android patent royalties. And again, as a Tech Rights author pointed out, these patents are of questionable value. Right? And I'm talking about a lot of times these patents, they're just for a vague idea. They're not even for something that it actually exists, not even for a product that actually exists. They're just for a vague idea a lot of times. So Android revenue, 95% margin, pretty much all profit, from that company. So $2 billion a year in revenue from Android patent royalties. And the money from those patent royalties were helping Microsoft hide the fact that its mobile and Xbox groups are burning serious cash. So basically, they were using these royalties from these bogus, low-quality patents in order to cover their losses in other divisions that weren't performing as well. And also, here's another article here from 1999. Now, Microsoft, you got to understand, has been using very aggressive and ethically questionable business tactics for a very, very long time. And here from BBC, the IBM chief says Microsoft, or he said back in 1999, about how Microsoft killed OS2. Now, OS2 Warp at the time was a desktop operating system, and it could also have been used as a server, but it was in competition with Microsoft's Windows. It was originally developed in cooperation with Microsoft, but then they had a little disagreement, so IBM broke away. They took the OS2 project unto themselves and started trying to market it. And Mr. Norris here from IBM said that PC manufacturers who wanted to license OS2 were threatened by Microsoft. Compaq was one of these. IBM was informed of Microsoft's intimidation by Compaq Vice President Mike Clark, and as a consequence, Compaq did not license OS2. It was revealed that Bill Gates was surprised that IBM was not prepared to jointly and exclusively promote Microsoft products and reduce shipments of OS2. And Mr. Norris also related that Microsoft had taken a number of retaliatory actions against IBM, becoming non-responsive to phone calls, slowing getting beta code of Windows 95 to IBM for testing. And then Mr. Norris here outlines a number of ways that Microsoft worked to kill OS2 by a number of different methods here. And many OS2 developers and users were dismayed at the sudden change in IBM policy towards OS2, which resulted in its further development and marketing being severely scaled back. Now, just to be fair, IBM didn't exactly help itself with its OS2 marketing, and they made a lot of blunders as well. But the Microsoft's bullying tactics here was probably, if you're going to believe this, is probably what nailed the final nail into the coffin of OS2. And then Borland sues Microsoft over a brain drain. And this also back in the 90s, Borland International was a developer of software development tools, compilers. They were the purveyors of Turbo C, Turbo C++, Turbo Basic, Turbo Pascal, and a few other products as well. And this article here is from 1997. But it just basically, this article outlines about how Microsoft was actively pursuing the Borland developers, the Borland employees. They were actually aggressively trying to hire these employees away from Borland International. And of course, Borland didn't have the deep pockets that Microsoft had, so they just weren't able to compete. So they lost a lot of employees to Microsoft's aggressive recruiting tactics. So they filed suit against Microsoft. The suit claims that many of the former employees now hold strategic positions at Microsoft that mirror their former roles at Borland. And a prime example is Paul Gross, formerly Borland's Vice President of Research and Development, now Vice President of Microsoft's Developer Tools Division. So Yoakum claims that Microsoft is luring personnel away with huge signing bonuses, some in excess of $1 million. So yeah, how's Borland supposed to be able to compete with that, right? So the article continues, of course. You can continue reading here about it. But yeah, basically it just outlines, again, as I said, Microsoft's aggressive and unethical business tactics that they've been using over the years. So the question is then, do we Linux folk really want to trust Microsoft as a platinum member of the Linux Foundation? Well, apparently there are some folk who do, even some of the old anti-Microsoft folks who are willing to give Microsoft the benefit of a doubt. But for me, the jury is still out. I don't trust Microsoft, but I mean, who knows? Maybe just for purely business reasons, they will behave themselves a little bit better. Who knows? But for me, the way that they'll really can gain my trust is to completely drop these patent deals against these Android manufacturers. Just completely drop these patent deals and just accept that the Linux is what it is. It is free open source, and just get rid of this whole patent lawsuit nonsense, right? But so far, they don't show any signs of doing that, and I don't think they're going to show signs of doing that. I think they're going to continue, on the one hand, claiming that they love Linux, and on the other hand, pursuing these patent deals. And then, of course, there's also this whole embrace, extend, and extinguish philosophy that they had in the past, where they would take a competitor's technology and they would make improvements upon it, or make, not necessarily improvement, but changes to it, and then make that the de facto standard and put their competitor out of business. So will they try to do that with Linux? Well, who knows? I think, as I said, the jury is still out. But I think we need to be watchful. And I think the people who are running the Linux Foundation need to be watchful, and just to try to keep Microsoft in line and keep them from destroying the operating system that we know and love. Okay? So anyway, that's pretty much it for this presentation. I do thank you for watching, and if you like the videos, be sure to subscribe and like, and we will see you next time.